All right, everybody, how we doing? Fantastic as always, I hope. And here I am doing some doodling, moving towards working on some watercolors. I wasn't sure I was going to record this. I kind of picked it up midstream, as you can kind of see here. I had some doodles sketched out that I was intending to color and practice some coloring, work on some coloring, and I ended up inking it up and approaching it with some watercolor. I was watching some watercolor tutorials and practicing on separate pieces of paper and trying to figure out how the water flows and how to get sort of a realistic look to it, or a semi-realistic. It kind of has a cartoony look to it, or a less than photorealistic style approach, I suppose. But I'm kind of happy with the result. I don't know. It was fun to do nonetheless, and I think I might be working a little more in this direction. I want to try to play with some starscapes and nebulas and galaxies. I saw some people pulling that off, and it looked really good, almost airbrush-esque in their appearance, kind of getting that photorealistic look, which I never supposed you could get. I never thought you could get that with the watercolor. But here we go. I just cleaned up my lines a little bit, and I'm inking it in. And I wasn't sure, even at this point in the sketch, I wasn't sure if I was going to just give up with and keep it as a black and white sketch, or just a doodle or whatever. And ended up deciding to finally color it in. So here we go. Just using the fine line to fill it in. Being indecisive as always is usually a good way to start, is just using the fine line to get my head in the right space to see what's going to happen, and then I'll kind of feel my way through it and figure out what I'm doing, where I want to go with it, how I want the shadows to work out, and how the light might approach. And it's just a conglomeration of ships thrown down, kind of like a brainstorm sketchbook, sketch page. And I'm outlining, going for a crisp, clean line. I did end up coloring in the background with a flat black, mixing it all up with watercolors and marker, and even some acrylics. And my big head in the way there. Apologize for that. And then adding some stars, like a goofy little star field in the background, just to give it a little bit of pop, as if you were really floating in space. But just throwing in some extra detail. And I wasn't really going for a great set of sketches, just something to color in or practice with. My own coloring book, I guess. And I start off with this guy, and those are the watercolor pencils, watercolor markers. They're called aqua pens, and I'm not quite sure what the benefit of them is. You're supposed to be able to smear the ink around, or at least that's what it says in the box, but it just looks like a normal marker, or a plain old marker that I've been using forever and ever. What happens when you get it wet? It just kind of bleeds around. So I'm not sure if it's was just like a pre-existing feature of every marker that's ever been in the past, and they're just advertising it as a quote-unquote watercolor marker, or there's some trick to it that I just ain't getting. I'm working on a Bristol board here. This is just kind of like a stiff piece of paper, almost a cardboard, if you're not familiar. And I don't know if that has something to do with it here. I usually just work on like a mixed media, 60 weight or something, or 98 pound, 160 gram, 160 G, kind of toothy paper, just some sketchbook you pick up at Dollar General. But I got fancy with the Bristol board here. Alright, I'm just gonna throw random colors on some of these things, and that kind of is good for that, because you can just mix up the colors and the metal on the plates of the ship, and it actually looks intentional, and it gives it a sort of panel look, where the different types of metal might come together, or different wear and tear on those panels would appear to have different wear patterns, I guess. Or the sheen might be 90 degrees to the panel next to it, or the glossiness, for whatever reason. I was not really pushing the limits with my ship designs here. Like I said, I'm just going for a coloring book kind of thing, I guess, that I could do this with. It ends up being total mixed media, I suppose. And I am back to using the GoPro, so I got a bit of a flicker. I noticed that when I use my phone, I have a tendency to drift around and lose it in the frame. My problem for not paying attention to what I'm doing, and I could probably lock down the book in a given quadrant or section of those squares and just be mindful of that is your camera safe area. But I don't, because I'm a goofball. And I'm just winging it, everything. I don't have any plan for the color. Just kind of seeing what happens and how it works out. And then tending to go with what I know when I get comfortable. Or at least in a direction that I am familiar with. And I think all in all, I might have done this in 2 sessions, a couple hours to do the drawing and the line art, and then a couple days later, I think I sat down and did the color when I got some free time from work. Then I wasn't sure how to do those skin tones, so I just went with an orange for the flesh on the face. And left some white areas to try to give it a touch of a highlight. But for that guy, I wasn't too happy with the way he turned out initially, so I ended up shading up, darkening a little bit on the face. And that is a white pen, a white ink pen. That's good for highlights and fixing garbage that I goof up. There I go. I went for it. I just decided to fill in all these spots with black for some space, deep space, space with the stars and the planets. You can see how the sheen is different, or the glossiness on the different material. The watercolor marker, that is the watercolor marker, or I'm sorry, the aqua pen, as they're described on the box, which as far as I'm concerned is just a marker, run-of-the-mill marker. And I initially started filling it in with the acrylic paint, which probably was a bad idea on the get-go from the start. That's why I got that uneven glossiness, or that goofy combination of glossiness. And I got a little anxious and started throwing some stars down just to see what it might look like. And it would be cool if I could get like a little haze effect around the stars, if I need to dig out the airbrush or see if I can get that thing even working again after all these years. I think we are getting close to wrapping this up. It was a fun little project, even though it kind of looks like spaceship clip art or something. It's a good sketchbook filler. All right, if you stuck around this long, I do greatly appreciate it. And if you want to stop by again, we will be doing this again. Thanks a lot. Bye.